Hello, everybody. Adam Parks here with another episode of Receivables Roundtable. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Mr. Matt Maloney, who is the Chief Investment Officer for First Financial Asset Management, or FFAM360, as it is affectionately called by his colleagues around the industry. How you doing today, Matt?
Doing good. How are you, Adam?
I can't complain. Matt and I were having a very interesting conversation during COVID, and I wanted to kind of share it with everybody because I thought it was that interesting. Matt and I were talking at the beginning of COVID about how businesses were changing and what we were seeing and the challenges in growing during this time period. Now, I know during COVID, a lot of people were in the process of downsizing or finding ways to kind of contract their staff as much as they could through furloughs and other things, but not FFAM 360. FFAM was working on growth. Matt, tell us a little bit about what it's like to grow during COVID.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say that, as I'm sure the audience would agree, there's no playbook for what we've just gone through and what we're still, essentially in the middle of. It was interesting. I distinctly remember March 11th. It was a Wednesday. I was in Virginia. I was at a conference, a healthcare conference, and meeting with a healthcare client up there and a personal friend of mine who's a CFO of the health system. And we went into that meeting and we were kind of joking, like, did we shake hands? Did we give hugs? Because I've known the guy personally. What do we do?
Sure.
Of course, we shook hands, gave hugs, whatever, talked. I distinctly remember coming back to the hotel room that night. And on the news, they were canceling the NCAA basketball tournament. They were canceling I think the NBA was canceling the rest of their season. And the very next night, which was Thursday the 12th, I went to dinner with a client. I was still in Virginia, came back to the hotel room, and they canceled the Players Championship that night, which was down in Ponte Vedra, Florida. I remember that. And I said, this is getting real. So I got on a plane, flew home. On Friday the 13th, I caught an early flight out of Virginia that day and assembled our team. And in our business continuity disaster recovery plan, we had one little snippet of what to do if a pandemic ever happened. Who ever thought a pandemic would happen, right? One little snippet. That was all we had in there. And so we assembled our executive leadership team, our ELT as we call it. We spun up what we called our BCCR task force, our Business Continuity and Crisis Response Task Force. And we made some decisions that afternoon, Friday the 13th, of what we were going to do. Make a long story great, within 12 business days, we took over 300 employees from all being in our offices, whether in Atlanta, Georgia, Phoenix, Arizona, Paso Robles, California. We took over 300 people from being in office, fully engaged, to a remote environment. I felt like that 12 business day, 2.5 week period felt like it was about a year's worth of work. It was insane.
Sure.
It was
in the background talking with your IT team about a number of different projects that we've worked on together.
Yeah.
That's a significant challenge, trying to move that many people remote that fast. I mean, that's a really impressive feat.
It was crazy. And so, we looked at it, we said, okay, right now it's all about tactical execution. How do we tactically execute? We've got to do this. We've got to move these pieces. We've got to put this in place. We've got to handle this. We were working with the company that was helping build our private cloud at the same time, simultaneous to us working and gaining approvals from clients while still balancing, trying to look at state regulation and or restrictions from doing work remotely. And a little bit for the audience about the FAM360 Alliance of Companies. We are in a variety of different industry verticals. We're essentially 4 distinct companies under one holding company. And so a big part of what we do is in third-party collections, but an even bigger part of what we do is in the healthcare revenue cycle. And so you have to deal with different statutes and privacy laws with respect to HIPAA.
A whole new layer of complication.
It's a whole new layer of complication. But as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And so we, I can't tell you, Adam, how proud I was of our team and what we did and what we were able to accomplish, and still what's going on. I still look back on it and still shocked. So during this period, we We're very tactical. I would say by the time the end of the first week of April, the dust kind of settled. We were pretty much in status quo, full operations mode. About that time, we were evaluating some of the new client engagements that we had on the shelf that hadn't yet taken live. And two particular client engagements, two particular clients, one that was in the revenue cycle, kind of healthcare revenue cycle space, one that was in the BPO customer care space. Both of them came to us and tapped us and said, we not only are going to, proceed forward with you during everything that's going on, but we need you to accelerate the go live. One client needed us to hire roughly about 50 people. The other one, roughly about 30 people. All told, we recruited, hired, trained, and deployed from April 1 to May 31st, 77 new employees.
Wow.
77 new employees.
That is a massive undertaking. And these people were all remote?
They were. We took them in. We took them initially in for training. Mm-hmm. And I got a little visitor here with me.
Sure.
So, yes.
We love visitors.
Yeah. Here. Yes, I will. Oh, I'll talk about it. How about that? Okay, thanks. Sorry, my little 7-year-old Manning had to hop in and say, "Hey, Dad, will you take me to Dave & Buster's later?"
It's Friday. I mean,
why not? So, I think that while you're in the midst of those types of things, and we were in the midst of just, tactical execution and hiring and training and deploying and spinning people up and taking account of their technology applications and making sure things were locked down, you don't have a chance to really sit back and realize and look at and appreciate the accomplishment that you were able to achieve. And so after we kind of, the dust kind of settled, we kind of trailed kind of into the end of May going into June. We really started working again on some strategic initiatives. And I think at the end of the day, like in real estate, they talk about, location.
Sure.
In business, at least from our perspective, it's about communication.
I like that.
And it's amazing what the technology today has allowed us and obviously other companies globally, around the globe to do and to accomplish. And areas of our business that we never thought or dreamed that we could operate in an efficient manner remotely were the very areas that we were operating most efficiently in.
So it's one of those things where you never know what to expect until it hits. And look, I've written a lot of policies and procedures, especially disaster recovery type, pieces. And even trying to understand a pandemic and plan for it and research what had been done in the past, like none of it applies today. The tech wasn't there. They just didn't have, there was nothing to work from in order to create this baseline to walk into it with. So like when I hear people come out and say, "Oh, well, we were prepared for this." No, you weren't. What could you possibly have been prepared for?
Yeah.
And like for you guys to watch, and I was lucky enough to kind of get to watch from the sideline how these things were going down and how quickly you guys were moving. It was really interesting to see that you guys would come up with a plan so quickly, and then there would be a couple of modifications over a day or two, and then you'd see actual deployment start. Like you guys would come up with a plan. You take a day or two to like kind of cull it over and make sure that you weren't rushing into anything, and then immediately start deploying. And when you guys put the put the pedal to the metal, you started moving fast.
Yeah.
So it was hard to keep up from the outside. Providing some, technical support and assistance like we've done for FFAM for years.
Yep.
It was hard because you guys were moving at such a pace when everybody else was trying to contract and kind of bring things back together again. But as you look at how you were able to execute on these opportunities and kind of what was the biggest thing that you learned from this process? Like you guys had really a successful opportunity and you turned a threat into an opportunity. Like what's that big thing that you learned going through this process?
It's simple. It's the people that make the organization. They are literally the hands and feet, the heartbeat, the head, everything. The people in our company, I mean, without the people who take such great pride in what they were able to do, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we really try to emulate within our organization, but I think people talk about it a lot. Maybe sometimes it's cliche, but I'm telling you, it is absolutely the people that make the organization, because we could have never done what we accomplished and what we're still doing right now. Even, I can share with you stories about a big health system in Virginia that just said they're going to add 40 people to us next month, in the month of November. They need us to add 40 people to support their internal business office, their billing office, essentially, for the hospital. We couldn't have done it without the people. And that goes back to communication, which is obviously one aspect to it. Communicating what we're able to achieve, what we're able to do, how we're able to help our customer, giving that sense of clarity. And I think that I heard this said one time, and it's always stuck with me, that in situations of chaos, people crave certainty. However, as leaders, anyone that's been in a leadership program, unfortunately, in chaotic situations or chaos like pandemics, we can't necessarily provide certainty about tomorrow because we don't know what tomorrow is going to be. But what we can do is we can provide clarity. And I've talked about this with my management team and talking about how in our communications, we can't provide certainty. We can't provide certainty about tomorrow to our clients. We can't provide certainty tomorrow to our employees about certain things, but we absolutely can provide clarity. And that clarity is the next best thing to certainty, in my opinion. And I think that that was never more present than, and certainly never more true than the communications that we were able to extend to not only our employee base, but equally as important to our client base. So I learned that the people are, and again, I've always heard it, but I learned that the people truly are what make the organization, a living, breathing body.
And there's no experience like going through it, right? There's no way to prepare for these things, and there's no way to learn like actual execution. So, Matt, I can't thank you enough for coming on and joining me today on this episode, because this was, again, it was a story that we were talking about privately, and I said, this is something that I think the whole industry needs to hear, because it's very exciting to see the way that you guys looked at a problem that was in front of you, and when a lot of people wanted to kind of tuck our tails and run, you guys stepped up and found new ways to create value, to add value for the clients, and ultimately you're going to walk out of this situation a stronger organization than when you started. And I think
no doubt. We are infinitely stronger, both from just technically speaking, right, infrastructure wise, but I think probably more important, culturally, like as a culture in our company, and embracing our core values, integrity to go above and beyond, empowering the success of our people through the golden rule, thinking outside the box, and certainly being compliance focused. Those are our 4 core values. But the culture that has been harnessed and then developed has been the wellspring of our organization. So,
well, nothing creates a team like a common enemy, right? Having one common goal and one common enemy that brings everybody together to move forward towards that, end resolution is just fantastic. But really just can't thank you enough for coming on today. For those of you that are watching this episode, greatly appreciate your time today. Feel free to leave a comment or questions below. We're happy to answer questions. And if you have any additional topics that you'd like to see us talk about here on Receivables Roundtable, or additional guests that you'd like to see us interview, we'd love to hear from you. So feel free to comment, like, and share below. And looking forward to the next episode. Thanks again, Matt. I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.